Hello, hello, Martin. How are you today?
I'm well, Ralph. It's been a while.
Indeed, it has been. We haven't recorded in quite a bit, but now
I
we're
think
back
3 weeks.
with the Lume plotters.
Yes, but for the listeners, of course, you have not noticed anything.
I had a small
So,
break.
yes, we had a small break. Things got busy. Although we did record the what was it, the Blancpain Swatch release. So we did do that one in between our break.
The emergency.
The emergency break. Yes, they are the emergency recording. So, Ralph, let's start with you. What do you have on your wrist?
On my wrist today is the Omega Seamaster Professional 300 blue dial, blue bezel, Setna gold stuff. That's the two-tone version. Yep. I didn't wear it in a long time. I checked that I wore it for, I think I didn't wear it for 2 months. I checked on my app, right? And I thought, okay, that's the watch I'm going to wear today.
I've never seen you wear this one.
Yeah. I have it at the moment on the normal steel bracelet. I also like it on the rubber. The blue rubber is really nice, and on certain leather straps. I love changing this watch actually.
So this came on the blue rubber?
It did come on the blue rubber because they wanted 12,000 dirhams or more than $3,000 more for the two-tone bracelet version. So I thought, okay, no, that's not going to happen.
Not worth it.
Yeah,
I agree.
So
I agree. So, ironically, we have not planned any of this out, but of course, what am I wearing? The Omega Speedmaster Professional.
Oh, yes.
So I have it on I just put it literally this morning onto this tan khaki looking NATO strap. I think it
looks cool.
It looks well. It's a good color combo. The Speedmaster goes with every single color NATO you could imagine. I have quite a few in my collection. And this morning I had it on black, got tired of the black and swapped it over to the khaki today.
No, it really looks good. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good watch. And once again, still such a good looking watch. And to think how little they used to cost, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself that I didn't buy it when you could get one for like
you said the bracelet alone for your two-tone Seamaster was $13K.
Yeah.
I paid $13K for my entire watch.
Yeah, no, that's why I can't pay that much for a bracelet. It just is insane. And I saw that, for example, that my new steel bracelet, or my bracelet that I have from my Vacheron Constantin, the steel bracelet there, that alone is a difference of $3,000 as well to the version without it.
Yeah.
And where you think, wow, $15,400 versus $12,700, something, nearly $3,000 just for the bracelet. I bought this for, which I found already quite expensive, 5,500 dirhams for that bracelet alone at the boutique. So no discounts. And I thought, that's expensive for a bracelet. But now, I mean, the difference, usually when you buy watches on the bracelet from the manufacturer directly, it's a bit cheaper, right? As if you buy it afterwards.
Yeah, of course, of course. So I did go and buy the bracelet for the Speedmaster.
Yeah.
Because of course I did get it on the strap originally. And this was, I didn't really like the bracelet. I thought the bracelet didn't have enough taper. It was a little chunky for the Speedmaster. However, after not wearing the strap for literally 6 years, I thought to myself, maybe I should sell the strap and then get the bracelet instead. So I ended up buying the bracelet for, I think, 3,000 dirhams.
Yeah, that's
and
okay.
I sold the strap for 1,500 to our good friend Hussein.
Wow, yeah. Well, I think sometimes it's the newer bracelets from Omega are really nice now. I think they are getting much better.
I know, and mine is the old generation, so it's not that new or not that nice, I should say.
And also
no micro adjust, no, it's just.
No, and that's what I like about this bracelet. It has this diver's extension, the big one here, that nobody ever needs until you really wear it on a wetsuit. And of course, the micro adjust underneath where you can slide it, like the glide lock from Rolex, right?
Yeah.
The only problem I have with it, it doesn't taper at all. It's It's just absolutely straight.
Chunky.
And the new one has this quick release, right? That we saw on this Olympic version.
Yep.
But it's not yet transpired into the normal Seamaster professional line. It's only available for the Olympic version so far. So let's see what happens. I hope that they are updating all the bracelets eventually. That would be really nice. And I would love, if it fits, I would love to buy that and just put it on mine, because I think quick release is just, once you have quick release, it's so hard to go back to this normal stuff.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yes. So
yeah. All right.
Oh, by the way,
what are we talking about?
Did you see at the iPhone launch, the iPhone launch? I thought Moonswatch is mad, and the Blancpain Swatch collaboration, and the crowds were mad, and the queues were mad. But did you see what happened with the iPhone?
Yes.
It was all
it's
kindergarten
ridiculous
compared to the iPhone launch.
yeah. And this is really weird, because I don't know why, but did you see them, the back glass breaking on the new titanium?
The back glass breaking on the... No.
Yeah. Apparently, they're bending very easily. The frame itself, while titanium, is not actually as strong. So mine is stainless steel. And the new ones are actually not full titanium. It's an alloy, titanium aluminum.
Oh, right. Okay,
so now it's actually softer
right.
than the old Pro was. Whee. And they did jerry rig everything on YouTube, did strain tests.
Yeah, I follow him too, yeah.
And he said this was ridiculous. With just 2 fingers, he was able to bend it and crack the back glass immediately.
Well, he is a bit buffed, so maybe he's...
yeah, but he said compared to the older iPhones, this was not something that happens.
No, absolutely. And I think this is when you really consider... maybe we got a response from Apple, and they're saying, well, you're holding it wrong. Remember that antenna gate?
But they also so apparently they lowered the price for the replacement of the back glass.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So does this mean they know that this is more prone to breaking?
I don't know, but I mean nowadays when the iPhone Pro or iPhone Pro Max is more expensive than a normal laptop from Apple, it's silly not to have Apple Care for your device.
Yeah, of course.
Because
absolutely.
My God, this is really just such a, heaven sent when you have something. And they cover 2 accidental drops.
No. Unlimited now. They changed it to unlimited.
Really? Okay, I think they did it once when you had the subscription, but if you paid in advance 2 years or something, then it was different or so.
Yeah. So this is how it used to be, and now they said unlimited because the US had unlimited already, but UAE didn't, and now UAE started doing unlimited.
That's nice.
Damage.
But I have never used this, but I can see the.
I used it once.
I can see the benefit. Imagine if you were nefarious enough to do that, at the end of your 2 years or something, you just deliberately drop your phone and you get a replacement for whatever, $100, and you get a full replacement, brand new phone. That's ridiculous, right? Lovely, it's nice. And I hope not too many people abuse it, because if everybody abuses it, then they will stop doing it eventually. But
surprisingly, my iPhone is now 3 years old. Apple Care expired, and it was working so well, I didn't bother. Even if it's been working for 3 years, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay. What's our topic today?
Let's talk about something watch related.
Okay.
So,
the iPhone is a clock as well, right?
It is, and they make a watch. Apple makes a watch. All right. So we are both big fans of Tudor.
You could say
think the
so.
audience already know this. Yeah. Although I don't own a Tudor at the moment.
Well, that is very hard to keep track of.
Black Bay,
right? If you have or
every other week, I have a Tudor, and then I don't have a Tudor, and then I have a Tudor.
Exactly.
But I did sell my Black Bay 54, and in all fairness, my month-long stint with it, my thinking was, I really liked the size, the construction, everything was fantastic. The slimness, it was all fantastic. Yeah. However, I did not like gilt. And that's a personal issue for me. I didn't like the gilt on it. So that is what kind of was the end all be all. It looked too weird to me. I'm not a gold person, so having that gilt inside the dial just threw me off. But everything else I liked, so maybe down the line we'll see what Tudor releases. But we did get, of course, a new watch last week, which was the Tudor Pelagos FXD US Army edition in black. So we decided to talk about Tudor for today, this week's episode.
Generally talk a bit about Tudor, what is special about this particular watch, what has Tudor
but about
done
the brand
in the
itself,
back.
right? The whole history and unpacking, because there's a lot to unpack with Tudor. It's such a unique brand in that sense.
Yeah. So you want to go from where it all started, which was 1926. Tudor was actually not the trademark that was not created by Hans Wilsdorf. There was another.
Neither was Rolex.
No, Rolex, he had the divine inspiration on a bus in London.
Exactly. But originally that was not the name of the brand, right? It was Hans Wilsdorf and Co. or something.
Yeah. So then he had the idea about Rolex and what he wanted, like not more than 5 characters, and it should sound the same in all languages and all of the stuff. And I must admit, Rolex is a very cool name.
It is.
It is a fantastic name.
He said it has to roll off the tongue.
It is really, and it has this luxury feel to it. Tudor, on the other hand, is of course, as they say, right, the shield, the Tudor, the royalty.
The shield protects the crown.
Correct, in the shield logo. But the brand name Tudor was already copyrighted by somebody else, and he bought this from them. I forgot who it was, but it doesn't really matter. But he just thought, okay, as somebody who loved England and he loved royalty and he loved the whole English or Britishness of everything, he wanted to name the second brand Rolex, Tudor. And that was from the get-go to offer a more affordable option for people to get into the same quality of watch that Rolex would produce for a more affordable price. With the only difference being, at that time at least, the movement. The movement was an off-the-shelf movement. It was not a Rolex certified super duper movement. It was a cheaper movement. More affordable one. Let's not call it cheap, more affordable. But the cases, everything else was made by Rolex.
And branded Rolex for a long, long time. Everything, the buckle, the crown, the case back, everything had Rolex and inscriptions on it.
I had mine was from 1999. My last one with Rolex branding. That was the Prince Date, which is that in the Only Watch auction now. It's the new version of it, which Tudor brought out for the Only Watch auction in November, and that's the one that's the 79280P. And that watch is beautiful, and I still regret selling it, but it was such a beautiful watch and had a crown signed Rolex, and it had the case back, said Oyster case made by Rolex.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't have it on the buckle, but
it's super cool.
And then when you give it to service, because they don't have these Rolex crowns anymore for that watch, they will give you a Tudor crown. So you have to be careful. If you have one of these watches and you give it for service, make sure that you get your crown back. They might replace it with a Tudor crown because they can't guarantee water resistance anymore with this old crown because it might be worn out and all of the stuff. So they will replace it. But if you ask them very, very nicely or very, very confidently, you will get the original back. So you can always swap back if you like to. But it's just a caution. If you have a vintage Tudor with the Rolex signed things, make sure you're not, when you service it, that you make sure that they are not being replaced or that you want to have the original back, which they usually don't like to do. Let's say it this way.
Interesting.
Yeah, but Tudor, after that, we want to continue what happened after 1926?
Sure. So 1926. Well, basically they were making these Rolex watches essentially with ETA movements inside. And nothing really happened. They were making basically, they renamed the Rolex models. Some of them, I should say, because the Submariner was called the Submariner. The date just became called the Oyster date, right? No, sorry, the Oyster Prince date. Day date became the Oyster Prince day date, right? Or, sorry, they even swapped that one, right? It was the date day is what they called it, just to be different, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, when Tudor really got, I wouldn't say like a popular, but a cult following, was when they started, or I guess military started utilizing the Tudor submariners. The first of these was the Marine Nationale, the French Navy divers.
Yeah.
And basically, this was, I think, 1953, 54, the first Tudor submariner comes out. At the same time, the first Rolex submariner comes out at the same time, right? And in 1956, I believe, is when the first batch of these were bought by the Marine Nationale.
Yeah.
So that is, I mean, once again, these were not special watches. They were bought by the Marine Nationale as a normal purchase. But that's how long this goes back.
Yeah.
Right? So once again, that is a very, very long relationship. So, and this basically went on. The Marine Nationale used these watches for quite some time. Until, and I think if my dates might be a little bit off, but they're kind of in the right area.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, they had a complaint. The Marine Nationale had a complaint that the circular Lume plots, hashtag Lume plotters, the Lume plots were too small to see underwater. So they said we need to maximize the size of the Lume plots. So essentially, they, instead of having circular plots, wanted larger square plots. So Tudor said, okay, we'll do this. So they made the change. This was around 1975. And that is what became known as the Snowflake Submariner. And that, of course, is the quintessential design DNA of Tudor to this day.
So they basically just wanted to make sure that they have more lume on the hands, and that's when that was created.
And apparently they, with squares, because if you try to increase the size of a circle, it gets too big and in the way. But with a square, you can make it larger and still sit closer to the minute track around the outside edge of the dial.
Yeah, I think what we are very often forget about these hand designs is that lume and everything that you put on a hand is heavy, and we are thinking heavy. What are you talking about? This is not heavy, but it is actually heavy for a movement to actually move these hands around and to have that angle right, because there's no counterbalance, right? You very often see this on the second hands, that they have a counterbalance, very long, thin second hand, and then a small blob or something on the other side in order to balance this long hand. The minute and hour hand, they don't have a counterbalance. So that means you have to be careful. Otherwise, if it's too heavy, then it might wear these rods and everything else, and it might be hanging down or whatever it might be. There's a couple of things that can happen. If you hear, I will try to remove this in the post-production, but you might hear some construction noise in the background. I hope it's not too bad. But I will make sure that I do my best in post-production. All right. So sorry. Yeah, that was the Lume and the Snowflake hand. Yeah.
So basically this, of course, the Submariner as a whole, I think around early 2000s, late 1990s, Tudor ceased the production of the Submariner. Tudor withdrew from the US and many, many markets, and essentially lay dormant until 2012.
No, they were actually doing stuff, but just not in these markets.
In the US.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
They were still...
so in these markets, but no, lay dormant in the sense that, the stuff they were making, nobody really wanted.
They have, and I mean, if you look at what they actually produced, the Iconaut, the Hydronaut, and all of these watches, they are ugly as sin. This is like, you look at them today and think...
so when I say lay dormant, this is what I meant. They made stuff, but nobody really wanted it.
I think probably they would be popular nowadays, or they might become popular because they are really a very acquired taste.
Ugly. Yeah. And these are the things that get get popular. So basically then, of course, in 2012, somebody had a lightning bolt strike their head because they released the Black Bay.
Yeah.
And of course, the Black Bay, this was the first one, the big one, still with an ETA movement, 41 millimeters, thick, not as thick as the modern one, but it was a chunky boy. And so essentially, this was the original one with the burgundy bezel, the smiley face dial, and the Tudor Rose logo on the dial.
We can say that was really a stroke of genius, I think.
In my mind, what was a stroke of genius is they didn't just release one watch. They released like 3 or 4 at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was
you created a line basically out of it, yeah.
At the same time, they created the Pelagos.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah.
Right? We forget about the Pelagos. We can't forget about that, right? So they made a vintage issue and a modern. So now they have 2 dive watches, one for kind of the vintage vibe, one for the modern vibe. Of course, the modern one was titanium, still had the ETA movement, 2-line dial, black only in color. And that was, of course, one of the popular.
I think we can.
I mean, that watch was so ahead of its time.
Yeah, I think we can probably say this was all the era of Davide Cerato, right? When he was the director of design for Tudor.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. But I don't know. I know Davide Cerato had the Black Bay was his baby.
Yeah.
I don't know if he designed the Pelagos as well.
I don't know either. But it's he under his let's say guardianship, all of these watches came out of Tudor.
And really, what else? They had the other amazing one was the Tudor Heritage Chrono.
Yes, beautiful watch.
That was so cool.
The
2
Monte Carlo,
blue and black.
Yeah.
It was the Monte Carlo style, yes. Yeah. Then they also created the North Flag, which was one of my absolute favorites.
Integrated bracelet watch, by the way.
Integrated bracelet before it was popular. Or popular again, we should say display case back.
Yes.
First time for Rolex
because
to make a display case back.
That was the first watch that actually came with the in-house movement.
And it came with the in-house movement. So that was there at the same time. They had a few other watches, but
indicator, which is also very not typical for Tudor.
Yeah, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So they had these. I mean, once again, I think discontinuing the North Flag was an absolute miss on their part. I mean, that was such a cool watch.
I feel it will come back eventually.
And we thought it was going to come back, and instead we got the stupid Ranger.
Yeah, well, I think the Ranger. I mean, I had one, right? I bought one. I bought a Ranger.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think that was
I tried
before we
once.
knew each other. So I bought it because I had with one of my ADs in Europe, I had the agreement, whatever watch Tudor brings onto the market, I buy it. I want to be number 1 on the waiting list. And that worked for a while. But then there were a few watches that I really didn't want. So and they changed their waiting
P01
wish list things. So yeah. But the Ranger was still one where I said, I have the Ranger here. Do you want it? I said, yes. 2 days later, I had it in my hand, which was amazing. And I liked it. I really, really liked it. It's very boring when you look at it, but once you have it on your wrist, it's a bit like a Datejust or
Explorer.
something. Yeah, or
it's
an Explorer. It just feels really nice on your wrist. But somehow I felt
so. Here's my issue with it.
Don't want it.
Is I hated all the pictures of it. Yeah. I thought it was disgustingly ugly. Then I tried it on, and a lot of that, those negative feelings went away. However, I still maintain they got the sizing wrong, and it should have been smaller. Like a 37 millimeter would have been perfect.
Yeah, so maybe that's true. Maybe they could offer 2 different versions of it. Yeah. Anyhow, but I liked it. I liked the bracelet, no rivets, right, and all brushed. Really cool. It had a very utilitarian look to it. But I wanted to say something about Ranger. Yeah, I think this at least the Ranger was a new line, right? I mean, it's not part of the Black Bay line, right? And a lot of people are always complaining Tudor turned into the Black Bay watch company because everything is just Black Bay. But I just want to list a few things, right? There's the Tudor Royal, or Royal, right? which is
or whatever.
I think a reissue of the classic line that they have. Integrated bracelet watch. It actually has a extremely well-made bracelet and case. It actually is lovely from a quality perspective. It's really, really cool.
It reminds me of the Omega Constellation.
Yeah. If you like the look, that's a different story. I mean, you cannot like the look, but it's from a quality perspective, an excellent watch. Then we have the Pelagos line with also quite a few different versions.
Well, now I'll go into detail about the Pelagos line and my issues with it and everything that happened. We'll talk about Pelagos later.
But I just want to go through the lines. Then we have the 1926 line, which is actually also beautiful watches, which are not getting enough publicity, I think. And they're going from 28 millimeters, very, very small sizes, up to 41, right? So, and you have also the bracelets and leather straps and all of this stuff. Then you have the Clair de Rose, right? Also an entire line of watches, which is of course more like a ladies watch, if you want to say it that way. Even though we are all very inclusive and unisex, right? Everybody can wear anything they want, but you would be very. Yeah, you have to really embrace your feminine side if you want to wear this watch as a man. But that's okay, if you feel like that. Then we have the Glamour line, and that is another line that is actually even split into many. There's the Glamour Double Date, which is actually, if you think about this, it's a jumbo date watch, like a panoramic date from Glashütte or from Lang & Söhne, right? Very big date window on 12 o'clock. But not on the top, but in the upper third of the 12 o'clock position, right? In the middle between the dial, the rim, the rehaut, and the center of the hands, and a sub-seconds. It's a very interesting watch. It's a very nice watch. Again, if you like the design, it's a different story. But from just that they do things differently. Right? When you always say like, but
this looks like something to me. This looks like something that's been in their catalog since 1975, and they haven't updated it.
And then you have the Glamour Date and Day, right? Where you have the week of the day on 12
Not
o'clock.
day date. Heaven forbid they call it a day date. It's date day.
Copyright. And then you have the Glamour.
By their own company, they have the copyright.
Yes, exactly. And then you have the Glamour Date. Right, and then you have as I mentioned already, the Tudor Royale, the Pelagos line, and then the Ranger line. And I think there is a lot in the catalog. And if you look at the SKUs, the sales stock keeping units of Tudor, I don't know how many they have. I didn't count them, but I think there's many hundreds. If everything which is a stock keeping unit is like a different bracelet, different color, different size.
By the way, I'm on the Clair de Rose now.
Yeah, and
I have to go back to the 26 millimeters.
Wow, that is
which
small.
Is if you remember, that's the old size of the old date justs for ladies. So they upped to 28.
Wow.
So the fact that there's two, I don't see what the difference is between these two. There's two different versions of it. One is 2,500 pounds. Apparently I'm in the UK. Oh, yeah, I am. But what's the difference? It's one automatic and the other one's quartz. Is there a quartz Tudor being made?
No, I don't think so. No.
And what's the difference? No, it's mechanical, self-winding. So what is the difference? Why is this one? Is there diamonds I'm not seeing or something?
I think one of the challenges they have still with some of the lines is they don't have yet the in-house movements or the manufacturer movements.
Diamonds, yeah. No, the diamonds are the difference. Apparently this one has 8 diamonds. So the plain one does, this is super nice. I like it.
Because I think they still
maybe the wife is going to get a Tudor.
Yeah, it's a beautiful watch. They still have a couple of these watches with the so-called, what are they called? The movements, they have a different name. They call them ST or something. Or Tudor T600, T300.
Yeah,
T900
this is one of those.
Because it's still the in-house, not yet the in-house movements because they don't have a movement small enough. They have one in the Chanel J12 now, in the smaller 33 millimeter watches that has not yet found its way in any of the Tudor watches, which is very surprising. But they are coming out with smaller movements as well. So eventually, I think all of the Tudor watches will have in-house movements at some stage, working on it.
Yeah, no, I believe so as well. Which now begs the question: is Tudor still Tudor? because ultimately the whole purpose of Tudor was to build or have a cheaper watch using an off-the-shelf movement. And now they're not doing this anymore. They're making their own movements, although with, in partnership with a couple other companies, right? But is it still the essence of Tudor? Has it changed?
Yeah, I think, definitely it has changed from his, Hans Wilsdorf's initial idea of what Tudor's supposed to be, right? I don't know if I have the exact quote in front of me. I don't think so. Hans Wilsdorf and Tudor, affordable, blah, blah, blah. We will see this quote, I hope, because he was quoted with that, right? Saying, hey, he wants to.
Yeah, I remember seeing a poster of this.
Quote. So yeah, I think in that regard, no, it's not anymore a Rolex watch made more affordable. It has its own standing. It has its own production capabilities. They have moved the headquarters out of the Rolex campus. I mean, their address is basically the Rolex campus, or was, right? That's in one of the buildings they had their production facilities inside the Rolex factory where everything else was.
So here's the quote. Did you find the quote?
No, you can. Please go ahead.
Okay. For some years now, I have been considering the idea of making a watch that our agents could sell at a more modest price than our Rolex watches, and yet one that could attain the standards and dependability for which Rolex is famous. I decided to form a separate company with the object of making and marketing this new watch. It is called the Tudor Watch Company.
Actually,
so this is what he...
Dissecting that quote, it's still valid, because he doesn't say...
Yes, it is.
It is basically a Rolex watch, just more modestly priced, which I like his choice of words. Modest is very good to say.
Modest, exactly. It's not cheap.
No, it's not affordable or anything. It's just like more modestly priced. And I think, when you see this, then yes, it doesn't say, oh, we are using the same parts or we have the same DNA or anything like that. It just says the same quality, right?
Standards,
yeah. So it doesn't have to be the same design. It can be different. It's just certain standards have to be continued in that watch. So I think, they're okay. I think they are.
All right.
When
so
you look
now,
at the sales is like 270,000 in 2022, according to Morgan Stanley.
270,000 watches, pieces.
Yeah, that's what. That's like half of.
Which is compared to Rolex's millions, about a quarter of
1.2.
Rolex is selling.
They're saying for 2022, they estimate 1.2 millions for Rolex, and 270,000 for Tudor. So together, they would be one and a half. Close to 1.5 million. But that means that Tudor is already
about
selling.
Half of those were my purchases, right?
at least. But I think what we have to say is that this is now Tudor coming from basically being dormant and selling, 50, 60,000 watches a year, something very small, or maybe 100 if you not even there. Very small numbers of watches. Within a couple of years, they are half of Omega. And that is pretty insane if you think about it. How quickly they have come in this realm in a semi-luxury environment. That's pretty remarkable, I think.
So this is a very big jump for them.
For sure.
Now, all right. So let's go into some more history here. Of course, right now, if we look at Tudor, they do have two lines that are going to be their bread and butter. One probably more famous than the other. I would guess if I, gun to my head, I would say the Black Bay line is their most popular line.
I guess so, yeah. And I definitely...
I always think about whether it's the Pelagos or this one, but...
No,
I think Black Bay is the one.
From a sales perspective, I think, probably... I would bet that half of the entire Tudor sales are Black Bays.
Half, that's a bit pessimistic, I would say.
No, I think so, because there's other markets that buy a lot of these.
I think
other
it's
ones.
more.
So Asia, for example,
I guess
buys
the
a lot
Asian
of
market,
other.
we do forget about these
Correct,
guys.
and they buy a lot
They
of
do
other
exist,
Tudor
and they do buy
watches.
a lot of watches.
Yeah, and not necessarily dive watches. They like dress and the more elegant watches, basically.
So, do you know where the name Black Bay came from?
From Captain Blackbird. No, Jack Sparrow. No, I don't know.
So, story goes that this is a sailor's story, like a myth that the sailors used to say, that there's a hidden cove somewhere which holds these secrets, and you can only discover them one step at a time. So it's basically like a treasure map leading you to this cove, and the cove was called the Black Bay. So that's apparently where this name originated.
That's the Black Bay.
How true this is, no idea, but that's what I've heard. But anyway, all right. So let's talk about Tudor Black Bays.
Pelagos.
Essentially.
Or Black Bays.
No, you want to talk about Black Bay and I'll talk about Pelagos?
Nah. Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, because you're more of a Black Bay person. I guess we've owned both, right?
I'm just
you
thinking,
currently own
what
both.
do I have? Yeah, I have one. Yeah, I have two Black Bays and
Bay
one
58.
Pelagos. Yeah.
So for me, I've had every single Tudor Pelagos that has been made.
Wow, you had the
Every
LHD,
single one.
you had the blue one, you had the black one?
No, every line, we should say.
Okay.
So I've had the original,
okay,
which was the original 42mm with the amazing bracelet that has that expanding clasp. So I had that one, had that for a while. The blue one specifically. Then I sold it and bought the Black Bay 58 in blue. Then I sold that and bought the Pelagos 39. Then I sold that and bought the FXD in blue. Then I sold that to buy a Black Bay 54. Then I sold that to buy another FXD. Then I sold that to buy another 54. So that is my history with Tudor.
And now the 54 is gone
again. Lots of rebuying
again.
the same watches.
Yeah.
Now it's sold as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my issue was I really liked the Pelagos, but I hated the fact that it had a date window. So I kept saying, I want them to make a no-date Pelagos.
But if you look at
So they did.
But if you look at that watch, and also in a smaller size, which is perfect for you, right? But if you look at that watch and then you squint your eyes a bit, you don't really see this date window. It's so well hidden, like a Lume plot, right? So it's really well done. I think it's just gets out of its way.
The old ones had a Lume plot next to it. By the way, the old first generation Pelagos had a small sliver of Lume next to the date window, but that was taken away with the new generation.
Yeah, I think
the date, because the ETA movements were smaller than their in-house, so I think the ETA movements draw the date windows inwards, which is one big complaint about a lot of these ETA 2824 movements.
Yeah.
We see this on the IWC Mark 18s, right? People complain that the date window was too far inset.
Yeah.
Because the movement was small.
Yeah.
So,
which is also something where I think always, Hublot can do that with their 45 millimeter watches. They use a standard ETA movement inside, but they just make a custom-made date disc that is very big.
Exactly. So why wouldn't other people do this? I don't know. Why wouldn't IWC do this?
It's just a matter of costs, right?
Yeah. So, anywho, I said I always wanted the no-date Pelagos. Then they came out with the FXD, which of course the FXD was in collaboration with the Marine Nationale, which of course they've been doing these collaborations since what we said 1950s, right?
Yeah.
So super cool for them to make a bespoke watch with the Marine Nationale, fixed, lug bars, spring bars, whatever you want to call it. Reverse bidirectional bezel with a count up timer as opposed to a countdown timer, right? So I mean, it was a truly bespoke watch with a bespoke case, and that was super cool. So then essentially they did make the Pelagos a lot slimmer. By making it slimmer, they lost 300 meters of water resistance. It went down to 200 from the original, which was 500. Then using this movement, they made the Pelagos 39.
Right.
Essentially now slim again. It's a smaller watch, but the Pelagos 39 looks identical to an FXD. Essentially, I had a few issues with it. I wasn't too pleased. I didn't like the red text. Was one of my issues.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't. There's no history for having red text on that watch. It's not a military. It's not the deep sea, right? Submariners.
But the deep sea had no history before it either, no?
Not deep sea. Sorry, the Sea Dweller.
Right.
The Sea Dweller was the original one with the red text, the red line.
Yeah.
So if they were to do the big Pelagos with a red text, which they did in the LHD, I'm okay with this. But to make the baby one, which is essentially a Submariner with a red text, it doesn't make historical sense to me.
Wasn't there? But there was a double red. There was there was a
Sea Dweller.
Yeah. So
no subs.
Okay. Was there
There's
no sub with the red text?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, somebody can correct us if I'm wrong.
But I think
was
sometimes
there a red? Oh, there was a red. It was the 1680, right? If memory serves, the 1680, which was the first one with the date window. So here we go. We have a no date watch with a red text for no reason. So,
but was there a Tudor version with the red text? That's the next question. I don't know that. Maybe there was. There was definitely the 1680.
know.
Yeah, that was the
That was, but that had a date window as well. So it was not like the Pelagos 39.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was one of my issues. The other issue was the Lume plots are they're just chunks of Lume. So it's ceramic infused with luminous material.
Filled with, or mixed with Lume, yeah.
So I wasn't sure how I felt about it. There's no issues. I do like on the FXD, they do have a white border around the same Lume plots or similar Lume plots. And I did like the white border version better. And my biggest thing is I loved the graduated bezel. I thought the fully graduated bezel was fantastic on the Pelagos FXD.
Mm-hmm. So what about the new one?
So let's talk the new one. So the first one was in conjunction with the Marine Nationale.
Yeah.
Then these guys decided last year to make this Alinghi Red Bull Racing Edition
with
a ceramic case, which made zero sense.
No?
Sorry, carbon case.
Yes.
Carbon, not ceramic, carbon. My bad. So they made this carbon-cased version where essentially they took inspiration from this Red Bull sailing boat from the Cup of the America's Cup, and made two versions: a chrono and a no date, right? A regular one. But it just is so weird. Why would they do this? I don't know. Why would this be the watch that they modify? If they would have modified a regular Pelagos, I would have said, cool. This is very cool.
I think.
However,
I think it makes sense.
My issue is you just took something the Marine Nationale built and misappropriated it for something else.
I think they made it. They took the most hardcore diving watch they have, which is the FXD.
No, I think the original one's more hardcore.
Well, 500 meters
500 water resistance, helium escape.
Hardcore as in it is fixed spring bars, I mean, these kind of things were
agree,
used in the military before, right? So it's a bit more, it's not the best specs necessarily.
And
but
then they put a chrono in it?
Yeah, wait. And then they used, because it has this lightness to it with the strap. And then you put a bit more lightness on it, make it out of carbon, because this racing, right? This sailing, what they do, that's just completely insane. If you look at how much these boats weigh and how they're made out of the most crazy
Okay.
material to save weight and all of this stuff. So I guess they thought, well, this is the watch that we can make the lightest, the most robust for this extent, right? And then use it as one of these for this racing, sailing, basically, this boat racing idea. I think it fits for that theme.
Now that you explain it, okay.
Why
right.
a chrono?
I'll buy it.
That's still something where I think, yeah. I mean, if it would be a yacht
where
timer.
you've blocked off 15 minutes of the minute track, so you couldn't see how much, the chrono is stopping, where the chrono is stopping at. Some people argued you can use the bezel for that, but
yeah, well, see, the thing is there as well. They did the same thing that with the original FXD. They made, and this has a countdown bezel, right? Which made sense because that's what the Marine Nationale wanted.
Yes, and this doesn't make sense for them.
But it makes no sense for regattas and yacht timings, right?
No.
The only thing is that
does
the
make
start,
sense.
it's only the 10-minute start.
The start?
Yeah, but
so you put it for 10 and it counts down.
Yeah, but
then
you're
why
still
do you need a
counting
chronograph
down.
as well?
Yeah, if you make a chronograph, then make it like the Yachtmaster from Rolex, right? Where you have actually a proper yacht timer.
Yes. So if you would have put that movement in here or something similar, I would have said, okay. But it's just weird. It's weird.
So I think
I'm not a fan.
They could have already switched to the normal bezel that they have now with the new FXD, the black one. I think
so. Now they can't say that they didn't have another bezel. They did.
Yes, but I think that's my biggest gripe with the new FXD launch is that it was such a hype, right? And they made it sound like there's something really, really groundbreaking and new is coming. So everybody got the knickers in a twist and said like, oh, come on,
which one?
The new FXD, the black one.
The new, because this other new one came out like 6 months ago. The Alinghi was like literally 6 months ago. It's still marked as new on the website.
I know that's true. I mean, the newest new one, the black.
So let me just get this straight once again. In March, for Watches and Wonders, they released stuff.
Yeah.
Then, now it is September, so that's about 6 months later, right? If my math is correct, 9 minus 3.
Usually that's what wait a second.
So,
but that's what they always do. Tudor releases twice a year.
Yes, but the Alinghi was 3 months ago.
Yes.
So they did 3 months ago. So, sorry, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, and now 6 months later.
Yeah.
So that is 3 releases within a 6 month period.
Yeah.
And that I'm thinking is a little bit too much.
No, I agree. And that's why nobody expected another FXD because it was just there. Yeah. Right?
They just did it.
And
imagine if they would have done it at the same time. And then the Alinghi would have been kind of a special version, and they would have done the U.S. Army one or Navy one at the same time. Yeah. That would have made sense.
Yeah. So that was, in any case, that was a bit of a controversy there, right? Because when it came out, there was. So
let me just say before you go into the controversy, there is history with the U.S. Army or U.S. Navy, sorry.
Correct, yes.
And Tudor. This relationship developed after the Marine Nationale relationship.
Yes.
I think around mid-60s.
Yeah.
So going from there, mid-60s, there were U.S. stamped military subs, right? Mm-hmm. So that is what they're basing this new Pelagos FXD off of.
Yeah.
And Ralph, take it away. What is the controversy with this?
There was a tiny bit of a controversy because some people said like, well, we have seen that watch before on the hands of servicemen of the Navy SEALs team in the United States. That exact watch that was just launched. And it became basically, it was used in a couple of articles about this watch, and then they were contacted by the press team from Tudor saying like, oh, can you please just not reference the Navy SEALs team or the US Navy using this watch ahead of time because it wasn't an official service watch. So the Navy SEALs did actually wear that watch. That is what transpired now. And then it was lifted again. So they basically said, okay, we figured it out with the US Navy. They were a bit salty, apparently, that this came out. that somebody said the
Whoa,
Navy is
the
wearing
watch
this
came
watch.
out?
The watch
Are
came
they
out.
salty that the watch came out?
No, they were
or
salty.
Are they
They were
salty
salty that the news came out that the U.S. Navy was salty that the watch, that it was reported that the watch was used by the Navy SEALs team, which is a bit of
Which, of course, the Navy SEALs, they try to keep really secretive.
Yes,
right?
exactly. SEAL Team 6, that's the most secret of the of the ones, right? And they're saying like, we don't want that people know what they wear. It's not, or what they use. That's not.
Meanwhile, the Marine Nationale are plastering it everywhere.
Yeah, but wait.
This is one of the things.
And that's the thing. This watch was not an official service watch.
No.
This watch, the SEAL team,
and it was also not,
has apparently contacted or had contacts with Tudor and said, we want to have a squadron watch. Can you make one for us? And Tudor said, sure, but keep it secret, which is no problem with the most secretive, special team in the world. So, and so apparently that was something that nobody really wanted to have so much publicized. But then eventually, I think Tudor and the US Navy said off or whatever. It's okay. So it was a bit of a hoo-ha. Oh, no, take this down, this article. No, you can put it back on. It's okay, whatever. So it went a bit back in.
So once again, my question is, did the Navy SEALs know that Tudor was going to publicly release this watch? They had to have, right?
I have a feeling that, yeah, I guess so. I guess that's it.
And it was lost in the bureaucracy somewhere, maybe. And then they didn't get the memo. They didn't get the email. So they freaked out a little bit. And then everything was, ironed out.
I think it's just that the Navy wasn't happy that it was publicized what the Navy SEALs Team 6 is actually wearing.
Yeah.
So,
which I could see.
Because it's not officially sanctioned, it is not an official watch. They did it privately as a squadron watch, whatever, and they used that watch during a service or whatever they wanted, whatever they did. We don't know really what they did because they are not talking about it. But that's what people reported on. And that's what they didn't like. But then eventually I think they just said, okay, forget it. It's just a watch.
Yeah, which is cool. But anyway, my main issue with this is, once again, the MN watch was in collaboration with the Marine Nationale.
Yeah.
The U.S. watch is not in collaboration with the U.S. Navy.
No.
And that's kind of, I'm like, does it lose a little bit of its sparkle when it's not official? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I
like it. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a cool looking watch.
I think it's I don't know who's providing actually the U.S. Navy with watches at the moment. If they have a specific provider, if they have their own specific, like a Type 20, like the pilot's watches from France, they had a Type 20, or the Baumuster NAV B,
so I know
NAV
that this
watches.
Marathon is the one making a lot of the watches for the U.S.
Yeah,
military.
it might be. But my point is, these watches don't necessarily, they're purpose-built, they're tool watches. That's all fair and nice to have a watch that is also worn by, the people in uniform. But I think it's it doesn't take much away from it because that's the watch. It's the same watch the Marine Nationale uses, right? Just with a different bezel and a different color. So it's not really that different to a certain extent.
It isn't, yeah.
So I think it's okay.
In essence, it's... So I think I like it. Now the question becomes, are they oversaturating themselves in the market with all of these releases, all of these variations of Pelagoses, FXDs, Black Bays and everything? Is this too much?
I think that's just, one thing I wanted to mention about Tudor is that they are actually very happy to make limited editions and them and specific versions for specific user groups, right? You can have a Tudor forum watch if you like. I think you need about 50 pieces, and Tudor is willing to do that with you if it's a certain amount. You have the state of Qatar, you have the Kanjar on the back and all of these stuff. And
what's that ginger guy? The ginger singer?
Ed Sheeran. He has one for his roadies, right? That help.
Hodinkee has it. Yeah. Google has one.
And they all have then a different dial for them. And I think you just need 50 pieces and you need to pay the price for it. And then they actually will do it for you. So which is pretty cool and pretty nice and open. But oversaturating, I would say it's tough because you have this many different watches that you are not actually selling many of, right? You have this big, broad catalog. It's a bit like Omega, right? To a certain extent, you're just trying to fit every little niche with your watches so that you just can stay in the Tudor catalog for all your needs. But is that something? I don't know. It's, I think generally, that's my critique on the hype culture. We have this attention span that is shorter and shorter and shorter. And usually watches didn't come out every year, right? I mean, Rolex was, for years, they changed the dial color and they added a Lume plot somewhere, or they updated one movement in one specific watch, and that was it, right? For decades, there was nothing much happening with their watches. And this is why they are so iconic, because they stayed so similar. But nowadays, I think there's so much of push and so much of hype about everything, that everything is hyped up. I mean, Longines had a big countdown happening recently, and they released a new ladies' watch, with diamonds on it. And you think, okay, not that ladies and diamonds watches don't deserve the hype, but since nobody knew what was happening, it was a bit like, okay, you have this 90% male audience, on Instagram looking at watches and watch brands, and they got all, hola, new Longines is coming. I was one of them. I thought, okay, Longines had some amazingly cool watches recently. The Spirit catalog, the Spirit line, and the what was this? The sector dial that they had a couple of years ago. The Tuxedo,
the Heritage.
So many cool watches that they had reissued now.
I had that sector dial, by the way.
It's nice. You had it on a wrist.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah. I had it. For 4,000 dirhams I paid for it. It's a fantastic watch.
It's really, really nice. And I thought, okay, there's something really cool and new coming. And then it was, well, not for me, because ladies watch. But yeah, so I think everybody now tries to make this hype, these countdowns. We are going to release something, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be great. And I think in this case, I think it was a bit detrimental. They should have just released it without this big boo-ha, because it's just a new color, right? A new color scheme of a watch. There's nothing really that amazing and new. We expected something from this hype, really a new. I
expected a blue 39, a blue Pelagos 39. That's what I had my money on.
But then that's also just a color, right?
But once again, if you already have a blue version, you making a black version is just going in back, reverse.
Yeah, maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but going black and then people are waiting for a blue, that's much more likely than the other way around.
But maybe they should,
especially on a dive watch.
Maybe they're keeping this ammunition basically back, right? Saying, okay, when we have nothing else to announce, we just announce the black Pelagos.
This was nothing else to announce.
Blue Pelagos 39. Yeah. We will do that when we have nothing else to do.
But this was the equivalent. Of even having less to do. Yeah. We'll make our only blue watch black, essentially.
Yeah, but I feel for Tudor, I think at the moment, we see the downside of that, flooding the market a bit too much with too many options, is that now I think Tudor watches have a bit of a lull, right? If you look at the pre-owned market, it's really hard to sell a Tudor watch now, unless you really heavily discount it. Because it's readily available, they are there. The market is softened a bit, except.
Did I tell you I had a call from Siddiqui? This is the Mall of the Emirates Siddiqui, the actual little Siddiqui booth, not the Tudor boutique. They called me a month ago, maybe.
Okay.
And they said, "Sir, we saw that you had put your name on the waiting list for a Pelagos FXD." And I told them, yeah, that was 2 years ago. I'm like, this is a Tudor. Yeah. I've since bought and sold 2 of these watches.
Yeah, that shows you how low you are in the hierarchy at the moment.
Exactly. It does show you that. But it's funny because they still, I think, Tudor themselves don't realize that they're not Rolex. And there used to be this hype, but right at the moment, you can walk in and buy almost every single Tudor that's available.
Or with very little weight
at the boutique.
At all, Yeah. But
with,
again,
with zero weight. I think most of them are available right now.
Depends on the market, right? I think there's certain watches are still very, very hard to get in some markets for whatever reason. I don't know why, but in some areas they are readily available. So yeah, let's see.
So for us here, by the way, in UAE, specifically in Al-Ain, everything is available.
Wow.
The FXDs are sitting there. The what's it called? The Red Bull ones were there. Everything was there.
Nice.
The Black Bay 54.
But I think it's also the prices here are relatively compared to other countries on the slightly higher side, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
They're giving 15% discount.
Ooh, yeah, maybe in Al-Ain.
In Al-Ain, yeah. So, but Siddiqui is not in Dubai.
Yeah, it depends if you have specific loyalty programs. You can, for some not so in-demand watches, you might get some discounts. But otherwise, yeah, it's a bit on the higher price. Right. So yeah, that was part one of
thing we haven't talked.
Sorry. Yeah.
We haven't talked about the Black Bay, and then the whole. I wanted to touch on one more thing. Essentially, the Black Bay, yes, we've had a number of different colors. We've had a number of different materials. Solid gold Black Bay, sterling silver Black Bay. Right? These are pretty cool.
Yep.
So originally started at 41. Then they had a 42 as well, or 43, I believe, a bigger one.
Really?
The bronze, the original bronze.
Yes, you're right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, they were 43.
With the brown looking dial.
Yeah.
I think it was 43. Then they went down to 39, and now they went down to 37.
Yeah.
And the question is, what do you think they're doing with this? Are we going to see a 37 millimeter Pelagos?
24.
Or are we just going to see these? I don't know. I have no idea. And this is the spitballing here. What do you think is going on here?
No, I think they're just, again, there was always the demand for smaller watches, smaller dive watches in the Black Bay range. They were always being the complaints. The 41 is too big, it's too tall, it's too large. So they had the 39, which is also slimmer. Now they have the 37, which is even slimmer, at least the perceived thickness. So I have to say, when the perceived thickness is slimmer because you have the smaller mid case on it. So it's they're getting there. They're getting there. I think they're doing smaller watches just to make sure that everybody can find a Black Bay that fits the wrist.
Yeah, but I do have to say, I remember our perceptions are changing as well. So I remember trying on the Black Bay 58 when it was first released. And I thought to myself, wow, this thing is so slim.
Yeah.
Compared to what? The original, right? And then I bought the Black Bay 58. I wore it for like a year or two. I don't remember. Quite some time. And then over time, I started thinking, damn, this is a thick watch. Like, why did I think this was thin ever? And then I got the 37 millimeter one. And then I was like, wow, this is a thin watch. Yeah. So I guarantee you in a year, I would have been like this 37.
I have a feeling this is definitely, it's about what else you wear, what else you have in your collection, what else you see. And I think the 39 was also, when it came out, I thought, if I really like it, it's small, right? I had a 37 millimeter Grand Seiko and I couldn't get myself to wear it properly. Because I thought, this is just not, it's too small for me. And then the 39 in the beginning, I thought, it's very small. But I warmed up to it and now it's totally fine. I can actually go even down to 38 now and be happy, right? But you have to experience this for a while. When you just put it on in a boutique, you think, no, it's not for me. It's too small, right? You look at your wrist and think,
I didn't have this issue.
Yeah, but I
tried it on
because you're just used to bigger watches, right?
Remember, I wear a sub a lot, right? And I never once complained about the sub's thickness. In my half a decade or not, I don't know how much of owning that sub, I've never once said, wow,
slim.
It's too thick.
It's 12 millimeters, right? It's relatively thin.
It is, but that's what I'm saying is the Black Bay was thinner than the sub, or equal in thickness, the Black Bay 58.
Okay.
And yet they managed to make it so that it looked like it was nothing but case side.
It's the slab side,
right?
The slab sided case, the
slab
straight,
side.
not even curved mid case. It's just made it feel taller than it is.
And by the way, this is the reason I sold my Longines sector dial. They also had a slab sided case on that.
Yeah.
And it looked weird.
Yeah. So give us more curves.
curves. I don't understand why it's so complicated.
It isn't.
I think honestly,
now they did it because I think they wanted to be different. I think they're just. But sometimes being different, I think Steve Jobs said this once, right? If you want to be different, that's fine. But if you're different but not better, then don't do it.
Yep.
You can be,
He also famously said, customers are stupid and they don't know what they want until I give it to them.
Yeah, which is also something. If
this is the same thing, right? Like,
Henry Ford said the same thing. If you asked the customers, they would have said, build me a faster horse.
Yeah.
And not a car.
That's a very good point. So we don't know what Tudor is up to, but they've done a lot of good stuff, and I still am a diehard Tudor supporter and fan.
Yeah.
Even though I don't own a single Tudor at the moment, I guarantee you I will have another one soon.
Yes, I can guarantee that Martin will buy at least one more Tudor next year.
It has to be at least one a year, right? And then I sell them, but. Anyway, no, I think once again, Tudor is doing well. I think doing well in what to kind of making watches for the watch enthusiast. However, I was on Watch You Seek and I did read one post. There was they said it was a leak. We don't know if it was actually a leak of a blue Pelagos 39. And it looked great. However, it had a neon yellow Pelagos writing. And where yours is red?
Yeah.
This one had yellow.
Yeah.
And people commented, this is exactly what Tudor does. They make the perfect watch. Absolute perfection. And then they change one thing from that perfect side to make it not perfect. And they screw it up. And this is exactly what I'm thinking is, this is so Tudor. They will make you the 99.9% perfect watch, but that 0.1, which they could have easily fixed, they managed to screw it up. And that's, to me, exactly what the red text on the Pelagos 39 was, for instance, right?
I really like that red text. I think this is really a nice accent.
Okay, and what about the sunburst dial?
I love it. I love it. I think it's so cool.
I wanted matte.
And even a sunburst bezel, right? That has this texture to it. Yeah. I think it's
I want it all matte.
Yeah, but then you can buy the normal Pelagos. You have it.
I'm very plain in my taste, right? So this is the thing: is what do I want? A plainer watch.
And I mean, this is titanium. It's already a bit plain.
No,
it's
but
not
titanium's so cool,
sparkly or anything like that. It's all very matte and muted, right? So give it a bit of sparkle. I put my Pelagos 39 on a aftermarket titanium bracelet, right? The Jubilee bracelet, just because I like it even more flashy than it already is with the
cool.
sunburst.
No, I've seen the bracelet. They match the color perfectly.
Yeah. And for what is it, $160 or something I paid for it. It's a good deal for the same grade of titanium bracelet, right? I don't want to know how much the bracelet costs from Tudor. Yeah, the original one.
I'm curious.
Okay, let's call it Tudor Part 1. We might have to do a Tudor Part 2 eventually when we have something new coming out from Tudor, right? So
yes.
All right. I
hope you enjoyed our ramblings.
Yeah, I hope so too. And we hear each other next week.
Yeah, once again, follow us on Instagram at Lume Plotters. Like and subscribe and comment and message and all the good stuff.
Yes, and leave us more constructive criticism like we have received already. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All good. Thank you very much, everybody. Speak soon again.
See you. Bye-bye.